To our Planning Commission this evening for September 20th, 2023. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm the current chair of the Planning Commission. Commissioners, welcome to the meeting this evening. Our agenda this evening will start with an opening prayer by Commissioner Shield, followed by everybody please joining us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have that led to us by Commissioner Bullock. Commissioner Shield.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before Thee and one another this night in our City Planning Commission, we're thankful for the opportunities that we have to serve and to be a part of this. We're thankful for our elected officials and their leadership, and we pray that Thou bless them to do the things that are right for the community. We're thankful for the city staff and for their work and diligence in things that come to these meetings. We pray that we'll have unity tonight, that we'll have professional and good comments, and we pray that we can do so in an orderly manner. And we pray for this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was talking to Commissioner Bullock on the way in today, and I said, it seems like it's a pretty easy agenda this evening. It should be light, and there's way more people here than I thought was going to show up tonight. So how many people is this is their first meeting that they've attended? Come on. Okay, all the staff raise their hand, which is here every meeting. Well, welcome to all of you. It does seem like it's pretty light on the agenda this evening. So no curveballs, no surprises. I've had a pretty long, weird day today, so I don't know if I can handle it mentally. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and commissioners, we'll look at the agenda this evening. If there's any changes that need to be made, let's address that now. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Commissioner Anderson, I move to keep the agenda as is.
Jill, I second.
Got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is set for this evening. The second item is approval of the minutes from our commission meeting on August 16th, 2023. We've had a chance to look at those in our packet. Once you've had a chance to look at that, or if there's any changes, please acknowledge it this time. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion on that as well.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 16th, 2023.
It's Commissioner Tupou. I second that.
I've got a first and a second. All in favor to approve the minutes? Aye.
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 Any opposed or anybody abstaining? Okay. Minutes are approved. Those are on public record now. If at this time, item number 3, it's the opportunity for each of us to declare a reason for an abstention or a conflict on any of the items that we have this evening on the agenda. As planning commissioners, if we have a financial interest, anything on the agenda, it's important for us to note that for the public. I do not have anything. Commissioners, anything from any of you? No. Perfect. We'll jump right into item number 4. This is a final plat amendment. It's a public hearing as well for consideration and recommendation to the City Council for an amended final plat at Rio Virgin Industrial Park, lots 38 and 39, located at 1502 East Washington Dam Road. The applicant is John Merrihew and Alpha Engineering. I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Thank you, Commissioners. The reason for this amendment is to combine lots 38 and 39 so that future expansion of the existing building can be made without asking for a setback waiver. No other changes are being made at this time. Staff has reviewed the proposed amended final plat and finds it conforms to the Industrial 2 zoning of this development. The subdivision also remains in compliance with the subdivision ordinance of the city. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Rio Virgin Industrial Park Partial Amendment A, combining lots 38 and 39, and that's on to the City Council based on the following findings and conditions in your report. And I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions that you may have.
Thanks, Eldon. Appreciate it. Commissioners, I'll turn the time over to you for any questions or comments for staff. Hold all your questions. While we're thinking of, do you have them right now? No. All right. Eldon, thanks. I'm going to go ahead and open this. It is a public hearing. Is anybody that'd like to speak to this particular item? Put their name on the record. Perfect. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and commissioners, I'll turn the time back over to you for any questions or comments from you as commissioners. Or I'll look for a motion if there are none.
This is Shill. I would move that we recommend that the Planning Commission approve the Rio Virgin Industrial Park Parcel Amendment A, combining lots 38 and 39, and send that to the City Council based on the 2 findings and 5 conditions.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I'll second.
This is as just a side note, Sheila, on your motion, I just want to add, I know you didn't mean to do this, but you mentioned that we are going to approve it. So this is going to go to City Council for recommendation for approval. I've got a motion
Recommend
by...
the approval. How
Yes,
about that?
exactly. We have, I have a motion by Commissioner Shield. I have a second by Commissioner Bullock. Individual voting, Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. This motion passes. We will send that to City Council with our recommendation for approval. Item number 5A, this is also a public hearing to recommend approval to the City Council. This is a public hearing to recommend approval to City Council. Recommended approval or denial to City Council for approval of conditional use permit C-2307 for an electric vehicle charging station at Black Bear Diner located at 965 Hoodoo Way. The applicant is Solarizing LLC. And I'll turn the time over to Eldon for the report.
On September 16th, 2016, Washington City approved the conditional use permit for Black Bear Diner. At this time, the applicant is proposing to amend the conditional use permit by adding up to 3 electric vehicle charging stations, which would be able to charge 6 vehicles at one time. These charging stations are being placed on the north side of the building as shown in the exhibit. The applicant is also proposing to install shade canopies for the parking stalls along the perimeter of the parking lot. These shade structure canopies will house solar panels that will feed the electric vehicle charging stations and existing business. The electric vehicle charging stations and shade canopies with solar panels will be a benefit to the business, and staff feels if the solar panels can be hidden by a parapet wall so that they are not visible, and the equipment being placed by the recreation vehicle parking stalls are screened with a block wall and wrought iron gates, staff is comfortable with the proposed plan. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of C-23-07, allowing the electric vehicle charging stations and shade canopies to be built, and that is on to the City Council with the findings and conditions as outlined below. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Eldon. Floor is open, commissioners, for any questions.
I do just want to point out the parapet wall. You can see they've added a vertical face, so the solar panels will actually kind of sit down, be recessed, so you will not be able to see them. And we discussed that through going back and forth, working through their submitted plans.
I think that, Drew, this is Commissioner Hanson. I'm sorry, not Drew, Eldon. I have a question that's probably more for the applicant, but just out of curiosity, as a person that uses, that has an electric vehicle, Most of the charging stations that I've used or see, they're away from the building. They're further away. And I think I have an answer, at least I believe what I know might be one, but I was curious of why it's up against the building as opposed to the outside row of cars, maybe off into the corner like I traditionally will see. Do you have any idea about that?
I don't. I would just defer to the applicant on that.
Okay. Is the applicant here? Perfect. I'll ask in just a minute. I'm sure there's 12 answers, but give me the best one, I guess. Commissioners, any questions for staff on this before I open it up to the public hearing? No? All right, thanks, Eldon. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody here in the audience who would like to speak to this particular item? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll open the floor back up to commissioners, and if we could have the applicant come up and at least address the question I have, and I can ask it again if you'd like. If it didn't make sense, I'm happy to clarify.
Yeah, we decided that.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Wes Johnson with Solerzine
Thanks, Wes.
LLC. And the location of the transformer and some of the switch gear was located near that location. And we did look at some other locations, but for this application, that's where we found the best location for power.
Yeah. Is there if I'm thinking of a kind of a worst case scenario that this becomes obsolete or there's no need for it anymore or something like that, is it an easy tear down and take away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, remediation we've talked about a little bit with how we would do that. And in this particular location, we think it'll be pretty straightforward. It will take a little bit of time just for the electrical and for the concrete work that's being done, but it can be done pretty clean.
Okay. And is it a Tesla charger or is it a charger like ChargePoint or?
It's an ADS tech, so it has a battery buffering system that allows the demand to be buffered before it gets to the charger. So it's a little bit lighter on the grid.
Nice. Awesome. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Johnson here? No.
How long does it normally take to fully charge a car?
It depends on the vehicle. So this is 320 kilowatts, and so a vehicle usually has 100 kilowatts if it's a larger battery pack like a Tesla. But normally people would charge around 40 kilowatts, so about 15 to 30 minutes is expected on a newer vehicle. If you have an older vehicle, it could take 45 minutes to 50 minutes
Okay.
charge.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Commissioners, I'll look for a motion on this item or any other additional questions or comments that you have.
I do have a question real quick. Looking at where they're all set up around this area, you said there were 6 charging stations, right?
Dispensers, yeah.
So how many vehicles will that charge at once?
So we'll end up putting at first. We're going to do it in phases, but the first charging station will have 2 dispensers, and then we'll add another one, and it comes with 2 dispensers. And so the total would be 6 vehicles with 3 charge boxes and then 6 dispensers.
But you have 7 carports you're putting in.
We plan on doing 6 total. On the plan, I think I just showed 1 charge box in phase 1 on the rendering also.
Because on
Yeah.
The only reason we ask you to come up is so we could get it on the notes because she can't.
I'm Leif Olson, also with Solerzine. Okay, on that one right there, you'll notice that those are solar covered parking structures, so shade parking structures. Those produce energy, okay? The one up next to the building will be the only area where there'll be actual cars that'll pull up
okay,
to charge.
that's what I was confused with. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't stopping other patrons from being able to
Yeah,
get
and
in
then-
with all
and
that.
then-
Actually makes it better for them.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And then it's important to know that over by the dumpster area, if you could move your arrow to the left, down, yep, right there. It's important to know that that's where all of the energy is stored and protected has walled protection around it. And that is the energy that will be produced to charge the car. So it's eliminating grid we're trying to be gentle on the grid to help it be a win-win situation, and that's the way this whole system is designed.
Okay, yeah, my main concern was that it was taking up all those other different parking stalls.
Yeah.
But this actually makes it nicer for the people to park under,
Maybe in 10 years.
maybe. All right, no, that was my only question.
And I just want to point out, so all the charging stations are going to be under this one canopy as you expand. Okay, that wasn't stated, but I want to get on the record that they'll all be under this canopy right here.
Okay, yeah, they won't be
This
under
one
all the
they'll
other
add.
count.
Yeah, so all the other canopies are just to collect the solar and to give shade, but they'll all be in this bank of parking right here.
I like that.
Is the whole purpose this is being done is to increase the attractiveness to Black Bear Diner and get people in there? Is that?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
To get, we estimate that there's roughly about every 70 cars off the interstate, just not residents of St. George, but every 70 cars off the interstate are a Tesla, let alone, other chargers. This charging station is designed to do Tesla and any other vehicle that's out there. So.
If for some reason, going back to an initial question I had about kind of worst case scenario, because we have an auto mall coming right here down the street from this, if a Tesla dealership came, or if the other dealerships that come in the next number of years have more and more electric capacity there, is there another use for these solar panels for the Black Bear Diner if it wasn't for cars? Can they reroute that somehow?
Yes.
Okay.
With that production can be used to actually supply Black Bear Diner for their power.
But right now it's not set up to do that, correct?
Correct. Well, it is set.
Right now, because we're doing a separate system over there, then it can't directly feed Black Bear Diner, but we are working with the power company to see if we can come up with a situation where we can do that.
Okay, all right. I just think that it could be conceivable that,
It can be utilized.
Yeah.
If the charging station doesn't work out, Randy's right here, the owner of Black Bear Diner, and he can attest he'd be happier than a Metal Arc to have all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
be able to supply us.
Yeah, he's talked about it multiple times, and we do want to do that. It's just technically because of the transformer and the size, we haven't got a direct way to read the meter straight to because there's different voltage on our system than what Randy has on his main service panel. So there's a little bit of switch gear that we have to
but
add.
possible.
Yeah.
If this was a blank slate and it was dirt and the building wasn't there yet and you were going to build this, would you be building it to where it is away from the building? Like, it goes back to, I guess, the initial question I had is, why is it against the building?
I'd like to answer that.
It seems to me everywhere I go to charge, it's out somewhere. It's as far as they can get away from the building.
So we're twofold, okay? So we want it to be Black Bear Diner customers, okay? We want them to be serviced in the diner, not you just pull up and charge and then walk away and go somewhere else. So we'd
Yeah.
like them to be, come into the diner and, it serves the diner's purpose and the person in the vehicle. And then, of course, if, after the diner's closed, you're going to get some people that are going to be able to pull in and charge up as well. So it can serve a little bit of two purposes, but we wanted it close up for that purpose, that they're a Black Bear Diner customer.
Makes sense. All right, thank you.
How do you regulate that? Someone coming and charging and walking away?
So, it's going to be difficult to absolutely do that. We're going to have signs up that'll say for Black Bear Diner customers come in and enjoy, some food, but can you absolutely control that? You'd have to have somebody out there standing there monitoring. That was another reason we wanted it close, because the employees can be doing that as well. If somebody walks off, they could be, confronted, a note put on their door.
Right. That parking lot is always so full, and I see people park and walk across to Maverick.
Yep. And they do, because they're coming through. A lot of them are coming through. They want to eat, go grab some goodies to get back on the road, and so they'll park there, run over there, get their stuff, and get back on the road.
Awesome.
Commissioner Anderson, I have a question. Is it currently, do people pay to charge here, or is it free?
It's a paid
It's a paper.
for, yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's designed to generate revenue and
And is
upcharge
so is
them
it,
as well.
is all the revenue, I guess, does the revenue cover all the costs, or is it partly subsidized like by taxes, or how does that work? I know some of these places
We do
are,
have some of that
subsidized.
subsidized. Some of the costs are subsidized by the state, the money that was come from federal government to state, some of that. It's not part of the NEVI program, but it is, the state has some capital that covers some of those costs.
okay, thanks.
Very small compared to what the whole cost is. There
So
are
can it
tax
be a profit
benefits.
center? Can it
Excuse
be a
me?
profit center for Black Bear Diner?
Yes, yeah, it's the partnership with the Capitol and Black Bear Diner, it's designed for both. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I'll look for a motion, Commissioners, on item 5A.
This Commissioner Anderson, I'll make a motion to approve C-23-07. With the 4 findings and 6 conditions as outlined by staff, and send it to City Council for consideration.
Commissioner Tupou, I second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Anderson, a second by Commissioner Tupou. Individual voting, Shield,
Aye.
Bullock,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
I am Hanson. I'm an aye as well. The motion passes, and we will send that to.
Does it go to City Council?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't
We'll
say
send that to our City Council with our recommendation for approval. Again, thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Good luck with that. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 5B. This is also a public hearing to recommend approval to City Council for approval or denial for a conditional use permit, C-23-10, for a new commercial restaurant building located at the northeast corner of Primavera Road and Buena Vista Boulevard. The applicant is Desert Flower and Galloway and Company, and I'll turn the time over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just to start, any proposed projects along Buena Vista Boulevard require a conditional use permit, and this project is adjacent to Buena Vista Boulevard. The applicant is wishing to develop a new quick-serve restaurant/cafe on the property. The property is currently zoned C2 and consists of 1.17 acres. The zoning to the northeast and west is also C2, with Buena Vista Boulevard and I-15 to the south. The proposed Panera Bread has a building footprint of 3,860 square feet, with approximately half of this area being used to seat customers. There is a double-lane drive-through, which will help with vehicle stacking and traffic flow in the area. There's also an area for customers to eat outdoors on the south end of the building. The exterior elevations consist of brick masonry, EIFS stucco, wood grain cladding, and metal coping. The building will be required to meet the standards as outlined in city ordinance and adopted building and fire codes. Staff feels that if these can be met, then the request should be granted for the proposed new commercial development at this location. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval of C-23-01, allowing for a new quick-serve restaurant cafe to be built at 876 West Buena Vista Boulevard onto City Council based on the following findings and subject to the following conditions. And just to correct myself, it's C-23-10. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thanks, Eldon. Floor is open, Commissioners, for any questions. Eldon, do
Oh,
we-
it's a one-tenant building, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is one tenant.
is there an estimate time frame for something like this to be built and finished if it gets through all the approvals?
I would imagine they want it built yesterday.
Yeah.
I would defer to the applicant on that.
Okay. Any other initial questions, Commissioners? Thanks, Eldon. I'll open this up. It's also a public hearing. I'll open it up at this time to anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this item. Please come forward and state your name for the record. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. at this time. And I'll open the floor back up, commissioners, for any questions that you have for staff or the developer, the applicant. I don't have any. And if not, I'll look for a motion on this item.
This is Commissioner Bullock. I make a motion to recommend approval of C-23-01, allowing for the new quick-serve restaurant and cafe to be built at 876 West Buena Vista Boulevard onto the City Council with 4 findings and 11 conditions.
Commissioner Anderson, I second, but is it 23-10 or 23-01? It's written both ways.
10.
It's
No,
10.
Sorry, 2310. I was reading off the recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Bullock. I have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Individual voting: Shield.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Tupo.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. This motion also passes for a conditional use permit. We'll send that to City Council with our recommendation for approval. Moving along to our last item on the agenda this evening, it's a code amendment. It's also a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to City Council for a code amendment of Title 8, Chapter 9, the landscape and water conservation. And I'll turn the time over to staff for their report.
Got some hard copies of these documents if you need them. Good evening, Planning Commission. Jordan Hess. I'm Legislative Affairs Director for Washington City. The legislature held their interim committee hearings and meetings in Washington County. This was the first time that they have ever done their interim meetings and their long-term planning off of the Wasatch Front, and they came down to Washington County. I participated and sat in on a number of those meetings, and all I kept hearing over and over and over again was water, 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 water. And the fact that they were here, just seeing who we are, how we live, our climate, our desert, they really understand the need for us to conserve water for the future. Last fall, the council passed a landscape and water conservation ordinance. The Water Conservancy District has updated their standards, and in order for Washington City to be in compliance and eligible for the turf rebate program, we have to update our ordinance to match the standards of the district. And their standards are sent down to them from the state. There are just a few minor changes. I've highlighted those in blue in the document. Most of them have to do with updating some definitions, updating, lot allowances for grass, also drip systems, what type of drip systems need to be used in landscaping, and then they address multifamily dwelling projects as well. I'm happy to go through these if you would like. It's pretty straightforward, but like I said, in order for us to be compliant and eligible for the rebate program, we need to update this ordinance. I will say that since the rebate program has been in effect, Washington City residents have been very receptive. We are 1% of the state's population, yet we are 10% of the turf removal statewide. So we're punching way above our weight when it comes to converting our grass into water-wise landscaping. Like I said, I'm happy to go through these one by one if you would like. I also have Doug Bennett is with us from the Water Conservancy District, who would be happy to answer any technical questions.
Jordan, could you tell me a little bit about the rebate program? It doesn't have to be long, but as a resident, I had read something about this, I don't even remember where, maybe a couple months ago. I didn't even know it existed until I read that. And so maybe there's some people in here that doesn't know what it is. Could you at least inform us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, any existing homeowner that would like to replace their grass turf with water-wise landscaping, they can do so and receive up to $2 per square foot rebate. And in order to be eligible for that, the city has to meet certain standards. We currently, we did meet those standards until these updates, but with these updates, we need to amend our code. But yeah, $2 per square foot. And like I said, our residents have been very receptive. We are 10% of the rebate, those who have applied for rebates statewide.
While there's a transition period of trying to meet the new code here, the residents that are wanting to apply for that, are they still eligible to, or is it on hold right now?
Yeah, we have a grace period, I believe. When is the deadline to December 1st to adopt these changes?
How long has this turf program been around?
In Washington County, it's just in the past year.
At all, like in Utah?
They've been doing it in some places up north a number of years. Like I said, in Washington County, this is our first year doing it. And as long as the legislature keeps providing funding, I think it'll stick around.
Is there a study to see how it affects property values?
That would be a great question. Do we know?
Yeah, come on up.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Doug Bennett. I'm the conservation manager for the Washington County Water Conservancy District. I come here with 30 years of experience in running programs like this. I've done these programs for the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also for the greater Las Vegas area for the Southern Nevada Water Authority. And we did conduct studies on the impact on property values, and we found a slight increase in the value of properties where people had done these types of conversions. Part of that is due to the fact that as we implement more stringent building codes, these new buildings that are going up everywhere, all of the freshest, nicest, coolest places all have water efficient landscaping, right? Turf is beginning to look, turf simply for aesthetic purposes begins to look dated to people. And so they want their home to look like the new homes they see being built that have a lot of the nice features. So we found no negative impact to property values. It of course varies by, as folks that approve projects, you realize it varies by the quality of the project that people do.
But you're speaking to properties that didn't necessarily put in turf. They put in water efficient landscaping.
Well, as your code evolves, there's less and less ornamental turf. For example, these projects you just approved will not have anything but water efficient landscaping, but they'll have the most up-to-date architecture, the best features and so forth. And people in their mind's eye begin accepting water efficient landscaping as being the aesthetic standard of what's new and exciting. So.
Is there somewhere where we could find that study?
I could go dig it up for you at some point, but there have been a number of studies. There's the Southern Nevada Water Authority did more than 200 million square feet of these kinds of projects. Keep in mind, it's a voluntary program, so when a commercial property owner chooses to do it, they're not going to do something that devalues their property or the appeal of their business to a customer. And so these are typically done and very successful. Also, we've worked with including golf courses. And golf courses, people are very sensitive about the appearance and the play of the golf course. But many, many golf courses have found that they can improve the course, improve its visual appeal, improve its playability, even by doing some conversions on golf courses. So if that, to me, that sets a very high standard. So.
I just think of the heat here. I have kids that have played on turf and it's melted some of their equipment.
Right. Well, keep in mind, we're not looking to remove. We've been using the term lazy turf. So if the only time you walk on this grass you happen to be pushing a lawnmower, it's purely aesthetic. We do want trees. We do want plants. We do want living plant cover. Where your children are playing in your parks, on your athletic fields, we absolutely want turf. What we need to do, because of the scarcity of water, to continue to provide quality parks, quality functional turf areas, we actually need to make sure that we're not putting too much water on turf areas that are doing nothing more than being eye candy, right? At the entryways to HOAs and things like that, where nobody plays, nobody picnics.
This Commissioner Anderson, have we made any inroads to, I mean, there's a ton of grass that was put in, you know, along streets or this or that because they were required, you know, by the city. that nobody plays on, nobody does any, most of them are on slopes. And there's like all over Washington City and St. George, there's a ton of these places and lots of grass, lots of water. It all runs into the street. And they were originally put there because, you know, of landscape ordinances that the cities have had, but since, I mean, there's a ton of water savings that could be had there.
Yeah, we have a very long way to go. So the Water District has adopted a 20-year plan, and we're expecting that 11,800 acre feet will come from conservation. So you may have heard about water recycling and how we're going to be reusing much more of our water. We have to build over $1 billion worth of infrastructure. And yet these conservation programs, which are purely voluntary by giving people incentives, are expected to produce 1/3 as much water as that $1 billion worth of infrastructure. So it's really important that we do appeal to those people. I've reached out to school districts, cities, golf courses. I'm trying to appeal to them, figure out how we can work together so that we can get the water conservation savings and still meet or exceed their expectations for their community.
There's a lot of churches.
Yeah.
I guess one of the problems that I see with some of it is a lot of these areas they could be improved, but most of them are owned by homeowners associations where they're having to maintain them, you know, over time. But it would be hard to get, well, to be able to pay to retrofit it, even if you do have a rebate. I mean,
right.
And so that's gonna be, there's a ton to be done there, but most of those HOAs don't have the money to be able to go and convert all that.
Right now I'm working with, just as a highlight, an HOA called Padre Lakes that's in Ivins. And Padre Lakes was built in the 1990s, and it literally is appropriately named. They built a bunch of man-made water features, and then they put fences around them. Nobody can actually, they're purely for you to look at. Then they covered everything else with grass. And so they have probably in the realm of close to 1 million square feet of turf grass, much of which doesn't have real functional value to the neighborhood. They're working on a 6-year project where they're expecting to retrofit 300,000 square feet. And they've done calculations that between the rebate and the anticipated escalation in water costs, and they will go up when you're building $1 billion worth of infrastructure, that they think they're actually insulating themselves from future costs. And so if you do the analysis, I mean, one good thing about these landscapes is they are paying you back every year in perpetuity if you have the capital money to invest on the front end.
Is there for the common homeowner here in town that wants to participate in the rebate program, is there a minimum amount of square footage they need to take out?
We say 300 square feet just for the efficiency of the program. We're going to send staff member there at the beginning of their project, again at the end. If for some reason, and I have some of these in my own neighborhood, they have a spot of grass not much bigger than this table before you. If that's the only grass they have in their front or backyard and it's not 300 square feet, we'll bring them into the program because we think on principle we should allow them to do that. But if you have a very large lawn, we're expecting you'll be willing to convert at least 300 square feet.
How is the public being made aware of that program?
Well, at first, we didn't have the program well equipped to deal with it. So it was largely through the St. George News. It was largely in the media and word of mouth that people heard about it. We also didn't, at that time, we weren't sure if we had enough money to cover the program. That's why these state funds are so important. But we've now, even without promotion, we've had 1,500 applicants. In your city alone, we've had more than 300 applicants, which is about, we estimate 5% of the qualifying households applied this year. So there's significant interest. And as Jordan pointed out, you're leading substantially in terms of communities within the entire state for the actual projects completed. There's about 190,000 square feet of turf grass that's been converted. And keep in mind, Commissioner Topu, that plants, trees, other things go in. So we replace turf. And people sometimes use the phrase, rip it out, and I don't like that because it sounds horrible. What we're trying to do is replace one attractive piece of landscaping with another attractive piece that uses about 1/4 as much water.
This is Commissioner Bullock. Does the rebate go for commercial buildings as well? As well as
right. So the state legislature, unfortunately, in granting the funds, put a lot of special conditions on there. And they actually prohibited parks, athletic fields, golf courses from participating. We've embraced a park, and it doesn't mean we're getting rid of the park, but some parks have grass on the medians in the parking lot and things like that. So we're using county water district funds to cover any projects that wouldn't qualify for state matching funds. So we're trying to reach out to every sector. Yes, we've done businesses, we've done schools, we've done a number of projects. I'd love to see more government projects as well.
I was just curious because you drive by all the chapels in town and they're all grass.
Well, we've had all the districts, so there are only 4 water districts in the entire state of Utah, and they serve 90% of the population, and we've all reached out to the church, right? We've had very productive conversations. The church is doing, to our knowledge, 7 projects in the entire state. And
It's like one block.
we've strongly encouraged them to capitalize on our funds to be able to accelerate that, because there are many locations, and they also send a strong visual message to the population.
This is Sheil. I hope we're not going the way of Tucson. And I think it was on 60 Minutes or something a while ago that so many people did this opportunity to rip out grass and get a rebate. And then the temperature went up dramatically in Tucson, and now they're paying people to put grass back.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. So I've been doing this for 30 years. I know lots of people in Tucson that run these same kinds of programs. So I don't know of grass going back in a community, but urban heat island effect is very, very important and needs to be addressed. We know the value of trees. I can tell you right now, on a hot one, I think we hit 111 this year, right? On a 111-degree day, you would rather be under a tree than sitting on an exposed lawn. And so what we need to do, most of the urban heat island comes from the pavement, the buildings, the materials that we put in the built environment. The landscaping is actually such a small fraction, it can't actually abate the entire heat island. But as you were speaking about that solar project at the Black Bear Diner, one of the things I was thinking is, you put up those canopies with solar panels, you're abating heat island effect. Just almost as effectively as a tree, because those solar panels are gonna absorb all that heat rather than let it embed itself in the parking lot. So we need to make sure we're creating shade. We want as shady a community as we can possibly have. I come from a politically shady community in my past, but we want to make sure that we have plenty of shade and that people aren't exposed, people, buildings, surfaces, streets are not exposed to direct sunlight if we can provide some kind of a tree canopy over that.
I think this question's for you, Jordan. It might be for either, but with regards to meeting the state standard, the city's going to do this. Are we talking about being more stringent than this, even given how I would think that our area of the state is hotter than the rest of the state, and maybe at some point you outlaw lawns in front yards and things like that. People ask us about that quite a bit.
Yeah, there are areas currently in our code where we're more stringent than even the Conservancy District standards. And we worked through that last fall in the ordinance that we passed. I'd like to just address your 2 questions, Commissioner Tupou. They're very cognizant of what you were talking about, and that's why they changed the definition of active recreation area. A minimum of 1,500 contiguous square feet of lawn area. What they saw were people having 100 square feet of grass and saying, well, that's our community park. They actually want area large enough for kids to play on, to picnic on, to play catch on. And then to your question, Commissioner Anderson, the city last year did what we call our Flip Blitz, and we actually had a couple of community projects, one at the cemetery, one at Nyson Park, where city employees took the morning to go take out the grass and replace it with Waterwise landscaping. And those were all in areas where we actually weren't using. It was all ornamental. And so the city is setting that example and doing so ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Now, on this one, I can't remember. Did I open the public hearing? I'm not sure if I did or not. Let me go ahead and do that. I think I did not. But thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for anybody here in the chamber that would like to speak to this item. Please come forward and state your name for the record. It looks like there's no takers, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll turn the time back over to you commissioners for comments for staff or, well, staff. Me personally, I think it's great. I jokingly say this, but I'll never forget it. One of my first meetings about 5 years ago, this lady sat in that chair right there, and she I don't want to say she threw it because it never left her hand, but she goes, "Where are we getting the water?" And she went like that. I thought she was going to throw it at me. And I remember like, holy cow, it was a big deal. And since then, there's so many meetings we have where people are asking about water. Like, we're running out of water. Where's the water going to come from? And I feel like you should come to every meeting and just sit down, and we'll just point to you and you can stand up and give them your piece. But I'm glad that the city's doing that. I would think and hope and want the city even to do more and more, you know? So it's I think coming from Tucson, actually, where I went to school, I would love to see it not be such an issue in our meetings with the general public. Whether they're right or wrong, that's the overall consensus that I feel as a commissioner, that they come and we're out of water. We're running out of water. So why are we running the city the way we do? And so it's a matter of education. So I was also thinking, Jordan, the city has I want to say it's a monthly newsletter. Maybe it's a quarterly newsletter. It's mailed to everybody. Is that program, is it monthly? Wow, okay. Is it mentioned in there? Is this program mentioned in that newsletter? I'm wondering if that's where I read it, but if not, I would love to see it continuously be in there, because I leaned over to Sheila and asked him if his clients knew about it on the commercial side, and no, and I know a little bit about it. Made me think of some of the other businesses, pool builders and things like that, or they're taking out grass if they're aware of it for their own clients. So, well, thank you again. Commissioners, any other comments on this particular item?
This is Commissioner Anderson. So I was really involved in the landscape and water ordinance this past year, and I read through here. I think these are really good additions to it. I don't have any concerns with any of the conservation issues. I do, and I think that the sentence where, because Thad has talked about this, you know, if the state legislature makes changes, we need to be able to adopt it. I think that's good. The only one that I think that we need to take out of here is the first sentence here that just says, minor edits and adjustments that do not change the intent of the ordinance or any of its provisions may be made administratively by city staff. And I take issue with that, and I think that city council would as well, that any edits or adjustments to an ordinance such as this that took so much time on the part of city council, lots and lots of meetings, I think that any changes, regardless of how large or small, need to be addressed by city council. That's my big thing. I mean, especially because it's all based on the intent of the ordinance, but that's why we have city council, is to determine and to review what that intent is. It shouldn't be an administrative thing to decide what the intent is and make changes. That's how we get, you know, bureaucratic creep. And so that's my biggest thing, is I just think that sentence should be struck. The rest of it I think is great. Sure.
This is Jordan Hess again. What we found was one city was scrutinized and even disqualified because their ordinance said narrow strip of grass, and the actual standard was narrower than 8 feet. And because they didn't have that 8 feet included, they were disqualified from the program. So our intent was little minor changes like that, but completely respect your authority and that of the council as well to weigh in on these issues. So that's good feedback to take to the council. Thank you.
Yeah, I get that. If it's something that simple, I mean, council is really receptive there. Just like, I mean, this right here, you know, it would be a quick turnaround to adjust that and amend that. So anyway, I'll make a motion. Do we have a number on this one? Just an ordinance. And we're sending to city council, correct?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the amendment for Washington City Landscape Ordinance with the edits as noted in the blue text, with the exception that the sentence in 8-9-1 titled applicability, that the sentence about minor edits and adjustments being able to be made administratively by city staff be struck from the agreement. And then I move that we send this to city council for consideration.
This is Commissioner Bullock, I'll second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. I've got a second by Commissioner Bullock. Individual voting, Shield.
Aye.
Bullock.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Tupou.
Aye.
I'm Hanson. I'm an aye as well. This item passes also. We'll send that city council with our recommendation for approval. Thank you all for being here today and the effort you put into preparing everything for tonight's meeting. Appreciate it. Commissioners, is there anything else that needs to be brought before our body at this time? Okay, I'll look for a meeting or a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Bullock, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Shields, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks again for coming. Appreciate it.